Hey, what's up guys? It's Hasard. I have a great video for you today. This is the next generation fixed wing flight helmet by Lift Airborne Technologies. All right, so first, before we get to the new, we first have to talk about the old. So this is the 55P. This is the old school helmet that everybody's been flying with, even in the T-37 back when they had that. They were flying with this helmet. Early 80s design. I still flew with it in the F-16. So it's still around, it's still a common helmet. It's pretty heavy, it's hot is probably the worst feature of it. So really an older design. It was good back in the 80s, but there's a lot of room for improvement, and we're gonna talk about some of those today. The philosophy here is that when someone gets to pilot training, that they get issued one of these helmets and it sticks with them for the rest of their career. So whether you go to heavies like a C-17, you're gonna fly with this helmet. If you go to the F-16, even with the HMIX, so that's the augmented reality computer system that goes onto the helmet, it can strap onto this helmet. Or if you are flying at night, you can attach night vision goggles to this. So it sticks with you for the rest of your career, unless you go to the F-35. F-35 has its own ecosystem, but outside of that, every other aircraft for the pilots, they'll fly with this helmet. All right, so I think the biggest attribute of this helmet is the weight. So as fighter pilots, we're pulling up to 9 Gs, 9 times the force of gravity. So weighing 200 pounds, 230 with my gear on, that's over 2,000 pounds of force pushing me into my seat. And so just on the neck, that's about 135 pounds. So it's a lot of weight. And so anything you can save with the helmet is huge. Not only is that uncomfortable to be under 9 Gs when you're flying, but the biggest issue is later in your career, pilots start having neck and back issues. And I know, unfortunately, a lot of pilots that have had to be medically retired because of that. This helmet, you can see it's carbon fiber. It's trying to save as much weight as possible. It uses a 3D printed honeycomb design on the inside. You can see the Coroid tubes. So those are thousands of polymer tubes that are thermally welded together for impact resistance. So advanced printing techniques to be able to shed as much weight as possible. It also has this amp system. So because this helmet is designed to fly in every aircraft out there and to be modular, it needs its own power supply. So instead of having this attached to the helmet like a lot of traditional designs, it takes it off so you can put this on your hip and so that you can put as little weight as possible on your neck. On top of that, the ventilation in this helmet is excellent. Ventilation out here in Phoenix, temperatures get up to about 120 degrees. On the ramp, that's probably 130 degrees, and we're not dressed for the heat. So we have on a G-suit, which is like snow pants on. We have a jacket on. So anything you can do to save the heat is great. Fortunately, we're not like the Navy. We don't wear helmets to do our walk around. But still, I mean, the air conditioner in the jet doesn't work that well until you're flying because it's using all that AC to cool the mission systems like the radar. Fortunately, the pilot gets left out of the loop on that. So this helmet right here with that honeycomb design helps with a lot of the ventilation. And then you can see on the back that there's ventilation on there as well. So that's a huge improvement from the old design. All right, so next is the modular design. So we talked about the HMIX system. I don't have one of those here right now, but I do have night vision goggles. I've flown a lot of night combat missions. And so the thing was, you know, you'd fly with the HMIX until it got dark. You'd have to take off the helmet, take off that HMIX system, put on a bracket, put in your night vision goggles. And so that was a whole process to be able to do that. And so if you're flying, we flew a lot of CAS in Afghanistan, that's time you're taken away from the troops on the ground. So being able to streamline that process is important. That's what this helmet does. So it makes it easy to go ahead and attach the night vision goggles. There you go, night vision goggles on, you're good to go with that. So it makes it a lot simpler so you can keep the helmet on your nugget, which A, you know, you want to do that from a safety perspective, and B, you can spend your time being more tactical. All right, so next, this is my favorite feature. So this is the hands-free light. You can see the clinch switch. So as soon as you clench your jaw, it squeezes against this button. So it's using your jaw muscle to be able to turn it on. So that's one of the issues that we've had flying fighters for a long time. So you can bring a flashlight in the jet, but then you're using one of your hands to operate that light. You can't use the HOTAS, that's the hands-on throttle and stick, all the buttons on there. So that's not a good design. There's other things like a finger light where you're strapping a light to your finger. I've never been a big fan of that. That's kind of a clunky solution. There's another one where it's a lip light, so there's a light in the mask and you're using your tongue to turn that on. So not a great solution. This uses your jaw muscle right here to clench against a switch right here. And so I was skeptical about this at first, but it actually works surprisingly well. Here we go. So there you go. You can turn on the light like that. It makes it a lot easier. You can go through different settings. So the way I'm turning it on is by a short clinch followed by a long clinch, and then that turns on the light. So it's probably the best solution that I've found to lighting up the cockpit, because at night, you know, in a tactical situation, you're turning everything down as much as possible. You might want to be reading your lineup card. So you want to just turn on the light, read the lineup card, and then be able to turn it off. That's especially important when you're coming back to land, when you need to have the best visual acuity to make sure that you can, you know, line up on center line and that you can do a proper landing. All right, so the power for that, again, is coming from this amp system right here. Also, this helmet has noise cancellation. So I didn't realize how important of a feature that was until I got to the F-35. F-35 has it. It's huge. We're flying 6 8-hour missions in combat. So anything you can do to reduce the stress is important. And so it's 2021. We have noise cancellation and AirPods. So why not be able to put that into a helmet? The cockpit in these jets, really loud. So we do everything we can to reduce that loudness. The next step is using some sort of active noise cancellation. All right, next is the fit system. So I actually custom fit this to myself. So I didn't need an AIF troop to be able to do that. So it comes with an integrated app. And so the app walks you through all the steps. There's like 30 different steps. It's intuitive. It's all CAD run, so you can zoom in, you can turn around. It actually did a great job. I can perfectly fit this helmet to myself. The helmet's comfortable. It has this dynamic fit system, which means it's a lot more comfortable than the old helmet. You have this knob right here. You can turn it. It actually squeezes everything in the helmet. So that's obviously important when you're doing a lot of maneuvers out there. You don't want the helmet jostling around. Also with the HIMIC system, it's important to get the eyes perfectly aligned with the helmet. So that helps from keeping the helmet moving around. And then on the chin strap, it uses a magnet right here. So it makes it a little bit more seamless. So everything about this helmet is really designed from the pilot perspective. So it's been 40 years since we had the 55P, so there's been a lot of room for improvement. Everything about this helmet has been designed from the pilot's perspective. So finally, we get a modern helmet to go with these modern fighters. So it's big, you know, every little piece of equipment that you have, you want to make sure that it's updated so that you can be as lethal and capable as possible. And they've gone through this helmet and made everything seamless for the pilot. So the next step is going to be for me to actually get into the air, put this helmet through its paces, see how it does. But until then, I'll talk to you next time.